Everybody? Welcome to Portal Intel on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. That's Justin Wells. That's Coach Dub. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not done so yet. Go to InsideTexas.com. Use that first link in our description. Use the QR code you see up there in the top left of your screen. Sign up for just $1. Now's a great time. You get all the best portal info, like stuff we're delivering here today. You get all the best Texas Longhorns recruiting news and notes, team info as we lead up to the Citrus Bowl, and then, of course, all the craziness that is going to be taking place in early January. We will have all of that. So, again, recruiting takes a small backseat at this point in the year. We had a bunch of stuff up from y'all's journeys to the state championship games, but transfer portal, that's taking center stage. Two guys since we last talked on the show have entered the portal. One, Justin, is Ricky Stewart. Didn't play, didn't really suit up. I think just a player that Texas had for a year. Wishes him the best. Someone who vibed with Tashard Choice, not so much with the rest of the program, and hopefully he is able to find a new place to play football and succeed. DeAndre Moore, though, that's going to be someone that takes is a little bit of a hit. We had reported he was not expected back with the program, whether that was NFL, whether that was portal, kind of remained to be seen. Do you think that really affects anything as far as what Texas may look for the portal? We know Sark likes getting that wide receiver position stocked up. I think there's any chance that he looks there, or is that one where they're going to try to rely on some of the guys they have in the program? Justin?
Is it me or Charlie?
Yeah, whoever wants it, but Charlie.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I'll go. Honestly, look, Moore brought a veteran presence, the guy who knows the offense. He did a lot of dirty work. Like, you got to find somebody to go in the slot that's going to block on perimeter screens and everything else. And okay with not getting a lot of targets. If you look at the slot, even Jordan Whittington didn't get many targets. He made the most of what he got, right? So if you want to bring a veteran guy in, or you can convince somebody that's already on the roster to kind of go in there and play that position, kudos to that. But if not, go find you a veteran guy via the portal, unless you trust your young guys.
Justin?
Yeah, Charlie nailed it. Like, the guy did a little bit of.
Did we lose Justin for a second?
I think so.
I can see you, but I can't see Justin right now. That happens. And one of the points I was going to make was that, you know what? They're going to see what they need in Dalen McCutcheon. You're going to have, and as I bring Justin back on, looks like he froze up for a second is all. They're going to have Emmett Mosley, Ryan Wingo, Parker Livingston. Most of those guys profile outside, although
Dalen McCutcheon's the guy.
You could do Mosley inside as well, but this is going to be an opportunity for Dalen McCutcheon for them to make maybe a 48-hour decision on, okay, do we need somebody, or do we trust these guys that we have coming back for next season? So, Justin, anything else on those two guys before we start looking at a few names?
I don't think Ricky Stewart's going to play football anymore. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see him pop up at like a junior college around here and kind of get back on track. But I think he's going to be a full-time dad, get a full-time job, and start his full-time life. With Moore, I see him on the West Coast. I see him popping up at Oregon or USC or somewhere closer to home for him. And like you said, Dalen McCutcheon's the guy. He's going to step in and get a lot of minutes next year. Plus, they're looking for a guy in the portal that could be an inside or outside guy. That's something else that Texas is looking at as well. But Moore's going to burn a little bit because, like Charlie said, he did a little bit of everything.
We get this off, and what happened with Lockett and French not ready? Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, they're
on the bench because they're true freshmen, and they have to develop, and they have to work their way into the rotation of a short bench anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think this spring bolds huge for those two guys, because one of those two guys is going to cancel out the other one. I feel like one of those guys is going to ascend, and the other one might just kind of tread water. And so that's what you're supposed to do. Bring as much talent into that room as possible. Let them battle it out to the blood, and the winner gets the reps.
One of the things that we're going to talk about today, and I think we can talk a little bit about some of the names that you brought up, Justin, over on Inside Texas. We can really focus in on the positions, and that's interior offensive line, that's defense, and then that's quarterback. And quarterback is one of those positions that you can look in the transfer portal. You may not be finding a future first. You may not be finding Joe Burrow. but you're going to be every year, that is, but you're going to be finding somebody pretty darn often in the portal who's serviceable in whatever role you need. Could be as a starter. Texas figured that out a few years ago. And it could be as a backup with, as Matthew Caldwell came in with some important throws. And, you look around the country, you look at guys who you want to just give them an opportunity to make the most of their senior year, not guarantee playing time. And you found a pretty interesting one. A lot of these guys, we're going to wait and see with, what the communication level looks like with everybody. But you found one over in a great Kennesaw State team in Amari Odom.
Yeah, I think he's a guy. I think Sark wants the traditional, pocket passer, at least coming into Austin he did. But I think he's altering his philosophy a little bit. I think he really likes the mobility in some of these guys now. And so that being said, this guy adds a little bit of both of that. He's a big kid. I'm just telling you, man, Matthew Caldwell was a godsend. Like you think they just plucked a name off the board. That kid could have started at a ton of schools last year across the country. So they're looking for a kid similar that isn't needing to start, but at the same time has starter quality. And in a pinch, I don't know if KJ Lacey's going to be ready after spring. He will be going he'll go into the spring as the backup, but they're not playing any games in the spring. And so I don't know if he'll be ready by the time, fall camp rolls around. Something happens to Arch. It's the same thing with Texas as last year. They didn't want to go to Trey Owens if something happened with the inexperience. So what do they want to do? They're going to do the same thing here. And I thought Odom kind of fit that really well. Now, granted, that's an early name. They're probably going to look through 3 dozen other guys. And we're going to continue to look through them as well because we're trying to find those fits in those matches. Right now, we know Texas wants another backup.
Ooh, this is a good one, and it can bring us to a quick conversation about linebackers. Auburn starting linebacker Robert Woodyard has plans to enter the portal, and that is someone I believe they re-signed Xavier Atkinson, not Xavier Atkinson, Xavier Atkins. Woodard was on a really good defense. The fact that he is not returning to Auburn's a big one. And if I'm Texas, if he ends up actually jumping in the portal, because Charlie, we know that Elijah Barnes is going to have a good opportunity here in this upcoming bowl game. We know they love Ty Anthony Smith. But we don't know anything else about the linebacker room after that at this juncture.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be young and experienced. I wrote a piece yesterday talking about who kind of fits in, Muschamp's new scheme and defense. Like, I know those guys are going to fit well, but you need some experienced guys who's played. You look at Woody. I think he had over 400 snaps last year, almost 70 tackles, a couple of lost, and had a couple of sacks. And so he played in the SEC, has a ton of experience on a really good defense for Auburn. Well, the front 7 was anyway, right? And so
it was a really good front 7, really good.
He started and played a ton. I think he fits the new scheme. So if he actually jumps into the portal, I think it's a guy you can go out because he has a ton of experience playing the SEC, tough football, brand of football, but he fits what Muschamp would want. He fits into the defense perfectly. So the way Auburn used him, I think he can fit here at Texas.
I think that's someone to definitely watch. And I think we had a little research up on him. I need to figure that out. Was he one that you saw, Charlie, or is that somebody else?
I thought Charlie had written about him like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I had a linebacker post. A ton of linebackers are out there, but then.
Well, remember, Charlie, we had heard a few names from a few certain schools that we had an idea that were probably going to portal, and I want to remember that was one of the top kids.
Definitely.
One of the ones that everybody's talking about. And again, this comes up so quickly. Keaton Thomas.
Who is Keaton Thomas?
Baylor. He jumped in last night. He had a fantastic season for the Bears.
What does he play?
Kind of shows how much this can all move so quickly. Like Robert Woodward was a guy we were kind of keeping track of because they had a coaching change. Yes, they kept their defensive coordinator in Durkin, but it's like, okay, if this is someone that you have to keep an eye on, it's someone you have to keep an eye on. He had looks like he had 105 tackles this year, 7 for loss, 1 sack as well. Obviously, and he had 1 interception. That's a lot of counting stats. That's putting him in the position. He had a great game against Auburn, but he just entered last night. And it kind of shows at linebacker and just at all these positions, the ruminations can be moving in one direction for some guys, and you hear about it, and then like, boom, it's like Justin's asking about Keaton Thomas, and it's a name we, are a little bit unfamiliar with. I'm sure that they are going to be interested in a high-quality linebacker that probably looks like Keaton Thomas.
High-quality inside linebacker. Let's make sure we make that a point because they need the inside guys badly.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think and that's what he's doing, and that's a guy in the middle of Dave Aranda's defense, and Dave Aranda and Will Muschamp a little bit similar schematically. Like, so there's going to be a lot. And you know, I see the question, what about this guy? Like, there are so many names, and again, somebody has they've all saying like, I want to enter the portal.
Right.
There's still a whole lot to happen. We're not going to know all these things about these guys. Like I can look up Mikey D'Amato right now, and
Joe.
I'll learn. You know, I will learn, and very much off the top of my head. Even though Cam Scadaboo does exist, I'm going to look and be like, Cal Poly. Okay, they're going to probably want something a little bit more, you know, established for the middle of the SEC. And yeah, he's 6'0", he's 230. From Mission Viejo, but like I'm just gonna think like, you know what? I think they may look a little bit different than at a different place other than Cal Poly. So these names are going to come fast. I think everybody needs to stay tuned to the transfer portal account, Inside Texas account at On3, just all the different stuff that's happening so quickly. But it is happening quickly, and we'll have a lot more. We'll go over some of the other names to know in just a second. Before we do, got to hit up Game Time, talk about them. You're looking for Citrus Bowl tickets, looking for NBA, NHL, anything tickets, no matter what event is going on, whether it's sports, whether it is a concert, you need to go to Game Time, Game Time app or gametime.co. Use the promo code ON3. You get the full all-in price. You see the view from your seat, and you know that you are getting the best ticket prices anywhere. Game Time app, promo code ON3. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Justin, I know you used it a couple weeks ago. Terms do apply, but no better way to get tickets than with the Game Time app. And going through and looking at a couple of the different comments, you know, it's just a very, very volatile time of year.
This is the new college football. Everyone's not leaving. But it seems like it because you see 100 new names pop up every day. That's college football now. It's a mercenary free agent market, and some of these guys are looking to trade up. But also understand, just because you see them expected to hit the portal, half of those kids, that's their agent working. And the agent's going to go back to the school, and if the school wants to keep them, the agent's going to jack up the price, and then they may never hit the portal. And so, honestly, this is a lot of gathering before anything can actually happen. You know, January 2nd is when we're actually going to see real stuff happening. Before then, it's a lot of speculation. It's just a lot of in case of, you know, because we know what Texas needs. We have an idea of what they're looking for. But don't forget, just because these kids come out and say, hey, so-and-so is expected to hit the portal, part of that is an agent doing his job saying, you know, Auburn, I'm going to test you because my guy needs some more money. Right. And if Auburn cashes up, then he'll stick around. He'll stick around the Plains, and he'll be just fine. If not, he'll move on to greener pastures. Just understand, not all these kids are going to be in the portal.
Right. Yeah. Justin, some of the guys, again, most of the guys we're talking about today have announced that they are interested, and you had a few more names. And I think the positions are the most important part.
Yes.
Texas is probably going to need a defensive tackle in the portal just to, you know, make numbers right at that position. But more importantly, and we're going to need to get Texas. We're going to need to cover Texas getting offensive linemen because Texas needs offensive linemen. And you found two very intriguing ones. One in the SEC ranks, one formerly at the Power 5 ranks, who made a big season out of his time in South Beach.
Yeah, so let me bring that up real quick. Look, let me tell you, the guy I like is the South Carolina offensive tackle. And yes, Brandon Baker and Trevor Gooseby theoretically are coming back. Okay, that's your returning starters. Okay, they need depth at tackle as bad as they need starters on the interior offensive line. And so I feel like the South Carolina guy, I'm going to butcher this kid's name, Babalade, probably. That dude had a great season. That was a really, I'm a little surprised. He's one that I think maybe the agent's doing some work against South Carolina just to get him a raise. He's one that I thought looked tremendous. He's a guy that I think you could plug and play. If he's your swing tackle, buddy, you're cooking with grease that year. Like that's a good thing because they're going to want to pick up one of those extra tackles. That's the most position of lack of depth in the program right now. And so I liked him a lot, but the other guy was a little bit different. He was a little bit more of he was a bigger Antonio Tripp Jr. He was actually a bigger recruit coming out. I think he was a 4-star coming out of high school, and he's just trying to find his niche. Sometimes these guys mature a little bit later. He's already been to Miami. He's already been to Florida International. He did pretty well at FIU last year. So he's going to be another one, but he's an interior O-lineman. They're going to retool that center guard spot. That's happening. Are those guys expected to hit the portal yet? We don't know. They've got their ideas of who they want, and they've got some ideas who could potentially hit there. But some of these guys that we talked about earlier today at InsideTexas.com, and really check that list out because it's going to continue to grow. There's going to be lots of just in cases. Those are guys that need to be on the radar, that you need to be paying attention to.
And I see this from Victor Santiago to Lockett. That's someone I know we've mentioned. I know, Texas has done the feelers on him. I think not far down the road. We've talked about him on this show, I think, and that's someone who fits into that guard profile. If you're already flying to Austin to go to San Marcos, and you're probably you're fine with a flight to Austin to go to Texas if that's the case. So definitely someone else. And again, this whole interior offensive line room is going to look a lot different next year. Texas feels really, really good about having guys like Gooseby and Baker there at those tackle spots. But yeah, you mentioned, Justin, they need depth. They need guys to come in, be able to, step in. You're not looking for a top 5. You're looking for a top 6 to 8.
Right. And look, our man David Williams came through. He knows, hopefully Texas will have Andre Kojo, assuming he's healthy, and Jaden Chapman backing up Gooseby and Baker. I disagree. You need backups. Those guys are not backups yet. Those guys are depth pieces at the most. Those are not backups. Now, a strong offseason, I could see Jaden Chapman easily sneaking into one of those spots. Then again, he might be a guard. Then again, I think he may have hit his ceiling already. Really athletic kid, moderately strong, good technician. And then you got Kojo, who's coming off a debilitating injury.
Yeah.
Those guys, if I am the O-line coach, I love Jaden Chapman and Andre Kojo. But if you think I'm relying on them for 2026 in any form or fashion, you've lost your mind. You have got to upgrade at depth, and that's exactly what we've been talking about for the last month constantly. Those guys are going to be good depth. They are not backups right now. They need experience. They need bigger guys that have done it a lot longer. And so that's why I think we're going to see a really different team coming out of the spring.
And you know what? I'll add to that. I don't care. I'm not penciling in anybody to start. Maybe Gooseby, but I want somebody to come push Baker every day. Man, if you beat him out for the job, so be it. It is what it is. Like, nobody's handed anything coming into next year. You got to earn everything you get next year. So no matter, I'm not bringing you in to be in the too deep. I'm bringing you in so you can compete for the starting spot. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, then I know I got 2 guys battling, making each other better. So no more handing out anything. It's not guaranteed.
Sark took that page from Pete Carroll to put competition at every single position. And then in the Texas football program right now, that is going on at every position except for the offensive line. There's no competition there. Those kids got to be pushed. I love that point, Charlie. They have to be pushed and earn that backup role, not just because they've been there for a few years. And I think that's why we're going to see Texas really – I wouldn't be shocked if it's like 4 offensive linemen in this class, man. They can't go into 2026 worrying about what they could have had in 2025. That you lost that mulligan. You're done. Now you got to push the chips to the table.
With you there. Before we keep going, quick word from Roback. TX20, that's how you get 20% off if you're a new customer at roback.com. RHOBACK. They got Texas gear, Texas polos, Texas hoodies, as you can see there. They got a lot of great gear repping your hometown. Lots of different Texas gear, lots of different gear, whether that be workout clothes, golf clothes, even some joggers and stuff like that. You're going to want to go to Roback and get everything there. And if you use the code TX20, 20% off for all new customers. So RHOBACK, Roback is the place to get the best apparel, whether it's got a Longhorn on it or not. Charlie, we had, before I get to
Daniel Soto's got one if you want to hit 2.
Yeah, I'll get that in just a second. What's the percentage on Texas getting ball? Texas is making Florida fight for that one. I think On3 and our friends at Gators Online has reported that John Summerall and their new running backs coach coming from Duke, don't know the name off the top of my head.
Yeah,
they are going and meeting with Ball in
Collins,
Atlanta. Yeah. Duke had a really good running back this year, and that's the name that I kind of looked at and thought, I like that guy. I wonder if he's ever going to have a wayward eye. So I think Florida and Texas are both going through the full process. We know Texas is making Florida sweat for it, but at this juncture, John Summerall, now that he's done being Tulane's coach, now that he's trying to be the Florida coach full time, definitely something to, that's a battle that we're tracking. And if his name appears and the battle's full on and everybody can get involved, it's not just Texas.
Yeah.
Manuel Soto, how many defensive tackles do they target in the portal, given the DT flips from this class as well as Hills transferring? Charlie, I'm of the opinion that they were going to need to go big kind of in the 2027 class and then also in the next portal cycle. But I'm curious what you think here, how much you think they need for Texas in this portal cycle.
Yeah, you probably can go get you one or two really, really big guys. I'm not talking about your average 300-pound guy. Go get you a 320, 330 plus guy to kind of play over the center and zero tech, especially when you want to play the little tight front that they want to run. Under Muschamp, you got 2-4 eyes, but maybe that. But you want to see how these other guys develop over the offseason, right? You got Mariah Watson, you got Alex January, Hero Canoe came back. How much weight do they put on, and can they keep the athleticism at the new size? So, maybe you go get one or two. Look, I'm in the ballpark of, I'm not leaving anything to chance. If you think you got to go get one, then go get two. Just because I don't want to leave anything up to chance because of injuries, depth. Somebody may not pan out, so you go get you two big run stuffing guys who can Terrence Cody type guys that Alabama had back in the day who can push the center back, and then I'll be fine with like one or two guys maybe.
If you can find another Travis Shaw, or even better yet, another
Brevard maybe, or
Cole Brevard,
yeah,
that's what you need. And those are, I know Travis Shaw didn't probably play as much as he wanted to. Brevard was a key part, but those are rare athletes. It's hard to find like guys like that in the portal, just because they're big boys and there aren't a ton of them. I like this from Woodcrest. Is the thin linebacker room a result of overconfidence and taking 1 to 2 every cycle? I don't think so, because there are only 2 on the field at a time. And, when you have your starter, who you knew was going to go to the NFL, declare, get out, and leave the room, fifth-year senior out of eligibility, and you lost Leon Golafau. Okay, there's 3 right there. I don't think I was always kind of questioning why they were calling Jonathan Cunningham a linebacker. I kind of found him as the next Maurice Blackwell, but that's the thing they had. Okay, that's what you got him for. But I'm probably giving a little bit too much of an excuse on that front, but you're only playing 1 to 2 on the field, so you're not always taking 4. They had to say that what's his name, Tassili Akana was a designated pass rusher during that class, so they could make sure that Jelani McDonald wasn't spooked by linebacker numbers. And of course, his body never took him to linebacker, but that's what the thought was for a good amount of time. So I don't think it's a result of overconfidence. I think it's a result of the way the roster has cycled, and you take, 2, maybe 3 every year as a result of there being 2 and maybe 3 on the field at one time.
Also understand that with Muschamp, like the last few recruiting cycles for linebacker were really hard for Texas because PK's system was not linebacker friendly in any form or fashion. Now with Muschamp there, I think they're going to have an easier time getting those guys in. It's been pretty difficult the last couple cycles. They've had to overpay a little bit, and so I think that's going to be part of it too. They actually had some issues with linebacker recruiting in the last 2 years because of that, and for good reason. And so now I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think you're going to have guys lining up that want to play for Muschamp because it is such a linebacker-friendly front.
Victor, on this one, he doesn't have the frame for it. He's a
nickel, which has linebacker concepts. And JJR is one of the smartest kids in the entire program, so he's going to be able to do some of that back and forth. But he is not a linebacker whatsoever. He is probably a future star.
Charlie, I want to go over some of the things that you wrote yesterday, and this kind of feeds into what Williams David. What are your views on Coach Muschamp developing safeties like Xavier Filsaime, Jonah Williams, Zealous Hicks? You had a lot of different fits for what guys that Texas has in this 2026 class, and even some guys on the roster where they'll fit in the Muschamp's defense. Before you get into that part, and who he mentions, who he doesn't mention, that'll instruct some portal things they're looking for. But what do you think for guys like Xavier and Jonah and Zealous Hicks?
as far as development, those guys better be comfortable playing man coverage, right? Because the system and scheme is made for match, and so we've seen that with the first year. I guess when Gary Patterson's here helping PK install that, whatever in the back end, the match quarters look like they got to be comfortable getting off the hash. And sometimes when the routes develop, they got to cover a twitchy, fast slot receiver. And can they do that? Can they turn their hips and run? I think they got some ability. But some of those guys are in-box safeties. You look at Zella 6, he's a guy who likes to come downhill and strike you. I haven't really much seen him in coverage. Xavier Filsaime, I think he's still developing the pass coverage part. So they got to develop on that side of things. I think they'll come in the box and they'll hit you. But if you're looking for, your guy, Jonah had shown he can do it. I know he's a bigger body, but he's shown the ability to kind of cover in spaces. So you got to go maybe find your other safety. You got Jelani Madonna. If he comes back, I think he can do it. But I think those younger guys, they got to develop that part, or it's going to be tough because, you can give up explosive plays when you match up safety on slot receivers. And a lot of people are going to target the defense that way if you can get the ball off. But those guys got to develop in pass coverage. I think that's going to be the key.
They have to have another safety.
As you look,
they can't go into it like with that group. They can't go into the season with that group.
I agree, but as you look at Will Muschamp's defense and kind of tethering into what you wrote yesterday, who are some guys from the 2026 class who really do fit into that defense and who can maybe step in as their career progresses and as they get in maybe second or third year of Muschamp, and who are some guys that you're gonna in what positions do they play? And we'll kind of understand from what you don't say where they may need to look at portal help at some guys who just maybe don't fit.
Yeah, so I'll start with one only because we kind of know the kid in Jamarian Carlton. I think he fits, especially if he wants to play the 4I. I know you look at with the 2017 class, and I know I compare him a lot, but it's the same thing with Taquan Graham. He kind of didn't have a position. He wasn't a true defensive end. He wasn't a true, I want to say 3 technique, but Jamarian Carlton can play that 4I position, right? He has the body frame. He's gaining weight. You look at, I even wrote in Richard Wesley. He's already, if he's at 250 now, how much weight would he gain, right? And keep his athleticism. I think he can play the 4I position. I think he'll fit very well in that. And then I also added Samari Matthews in it because I think he can play nickel, he can play corner, you can kind of move him around. He has all those kind of coverage abilities. I think that you can find yourself 4 DBs. He can find himself in the rotation early if he can pick up the playbook and show that he can play. I think he's another one that can fit. And then Tyler Atkinson, man, Justin just talked about linebackers. This has been a more linebacker-friendly scheme. Tyler Atkinson fits into that perfectly.
100%.
Track, snap, cover space, blitz, whatever you need him to do, he can cover ground and make up ground quickly. And so he fits into this so well versus he probably wouldn't have been covering grass and not using all of his athleticism and PK's scheme. He fits perfectly in this one. So you want to see how those guys actually develop before you need to go to the portal, maybe. I mean, that's kind of hard to say. I would go ahead and get insurance because they're so young. You don't want to depend on freshmen. And so maybe you go find some guys that can fit into the 4I. I know you got Lance Jackson. I know you got Justice Terry, right? But who are their backups? You got Zena Umi and Zulu. We want to see how he develops, but do you want to take the chance? And so I'll say you go find some more guys who can play the 4I. And you definitely got to find linebackers and safeties who fit the scheme.
But Justin, overall, we know they need numbers at defensive back, at linebacker, and especially at running back as well, correct?
Yeah. I mean, running back's happening. That's a guarantee.
In offensive line.
In offensive line. Yeah, I mean, it's like any other program. There's holes. Now, there's strengths throughout this program, and there's also holes. In running back, yes, they want a running back 1 so that Trey Wisner can be the quintessential third down back, which is kind of what he is anyway. Of course, they want to, they're going to retool some of that interior offensive line. Defensive line, I think the number is going to be 2. I think Charlie's right. Like, I can see them getting a guy to anchor big guy in the middle, but I can also see them look for a 4I because I don't think Lance Jackson is ready to take on that kind of a role next year. I could be wrong, but that's gonna ask a lot of those guys to do that. And so, but safety's the position you have got to add another safety. You know what you need? And I know it sounds so easy, but it's not. You need another Andrew Makuba. Listen, Makuba came in not being promised a starter at all. Derek Williams, the Raptor, was the guy back there getting the starters minutes. Until he got hurt, Makuba wasn't playing. You want that. You want a guy that can go back there with Jelani because Jelani's going to be a superstar next year. You just need a guy that's back there with him. Does Jonah Williams have a future in this? I think. But, Joe, if he hits 330, 340, even 350 again this spring, you and I both know that's a baseball family. And there's always a chance Jonah Williams could go baseball full-time. Xavier Filsaime, I thought he made some strides this year. Buddy, he's got a lot more striding to go, like a lot. Okay. And so that position's just not right. Michael Taft was kind of like a Band-Aid for 2 years. Like they could just depend on having that quarterback there with him. They're hoping Jelani kind of takes that mix. Texas needs kind of a mixture of different guys across the board. And it's going to be real fun to see how they fill it out.
We'll have all this talked about over on Inside Texas. We'll be answer. Hey, we got a Q&A going today. Tag us in those Q&As after you join. So make sure you join InsideTexas.com. Go to that first link in our description. Sign up for just $1. You can use that QR code there on the screen. We'll be able to get to a lot more of those questions there. Looking forward to everybody joining. Now's a great time. All the portal info, all the Citrus Bowl discussion, everything going on with Texas football, staff changes, everything you're going to want to be a part of Inside Texas. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.